Welcome back, everybody. It's Thursday, August 8th, 2024. Born on this date in 1953, current U.S. Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin of Mobile. In 1967, former NFL tight end and broadcaster Howard Cross of Huntsville. Today, we're going to do news in the first segment and then come back and speak with reporter Walisha Morris about some of the trends in what students can and can't wear in some Alabama schools. Also, some big changes to the ACT. My name's Ike Morgan, and we're down in Alabama. A helicopter instructor died and a student pilot was injured Wednesday after an AH-64 Apache helicopter crashed at Fort Novosel, reports AL.com's Howard Koplowitz. WTVY reported that the Dale County coroner identified the instructor as retired Army Chief Warrant Officer Daniel Munger of Enterprise. He was working as a contractor. The student's injuries were minor, and the crash was still under investigation. A bill that's made it through committee could be taken up by the United States Senate that would target illegal red snapper fishing by Mexican fishing boats in U.S. Gulf waters, reports AL.com's Lawrence Specker. The bill is from three Republican senators, Texas's Ted Cruz and Alabama's Katie Britt and Tommy Tuberville. The bill's backers say that illegal fishing boats from Mexico are catching red snapper that end up back in U.S. markets. They also allege that the boats are used to smuggle drugs and people and support the cartels, something that is suspected among Texas fishermen and law enforcement. The bill would call for the development of technology and methodology to create field test kits for red snapper that would determine the country of origin for the fish based on a chemical analysis. Now, that testing would then be used to stop red snapper from being caught illegally in U.S. waters, sold in Mexico, then imported back into U.S. markets. The senators say they hope success with red snapper could lead to identifying the source of other fish and products. Birmingham area political force Hezekiah Jackson IV has passed away, reports AL.com's Joseph D. Bryant. Jackson was the longtime president of the Metro Birmingham branch of the NAACP. The national NAACP suspended his leadership role after he was accused of working with conspirators who were convicted on charges related to convincing North Alabama residents to refuse to let the EPA test their potentially toxic soil. Jackson, however, was never charged with anything. He's credited with helping and training many community leaders and local politicians. And Joseph writes that many political hopefuls would make sure they visited Jackson early on in their campaigns. Hezekiah Jackson was 65 years old. Now, here's something y'all could help us out with. We do a Friday news quiz that regular listeners are familiar with. We've been bringing in reporters and editors to take it and see if they've been paying attention to the recent Alabama news. Well, I thought it might be fun to have a listener of this show come on and take the quiz. Now, if you might be interested in doing that, we're going to try to record it this afternoon for Friday morning's show. Just send an email to imorgan, IMORGAN, at AL.com with quiz in the subject field, and we'll find a way to randomly pick somebody. And then if we can get together on a time this afternoon, we can have you take the quiz. You'll need access to a computer with a good internet connection. Now, a couple of disclaimers. I don't know whether I'll be able to reply to everyone who wasn't randomly selected, but I'll try. Also, since we're flying by the seat of our britches on this, I can't say 100% that it'll get pulled off, but again, we'll give it a shot. Right now, we're going to take a quick break and then visit with reporter Walisha Morris and talk about a couple back-to-school things. We'll touch on some of this year's clothing restrictions in some places, and some pretty major changes to the ACT that are coming next year. Y'all stay with us. Hey, I appreciate everybody for sticking with us through the break. Well, this is a big week for conflicting emotions as the kids get back to school. Some love it, some hate it, but most are somewhere along that love hate spectrum, I think. The good news is that the rooms are air conditioned. Really good news this week. We're going to welcome to the show Walisha Morris, who covers education issues for the Education Lab and AL.com. Walisha, thank you so much for taking the time to stop by and see us.
It is an honor to be here, Ike. Thank you so much for inviting me on. This is really cool.
Yeah, love having you. Are you now? Are you staying warm enough where you are? I don't want anybody catching a chill out there.
I am nice and cold, actually, where I'm at right now, so I'm doing good.
I'll mention this for folks who haven't seen the outside lately. We might see triple digits. We might see triple digits in parts of the state today. Just another August in Alabama, though. So we're
Yep,
not going to complain about it. Well, Alicia, I really wanted to have you on the show to mark the occasion of back to school. You did a story recently about some of the clothing rules and restrictions that some districts have had in place for this academic year.
that's right.
You want to tell us about any trends you're seeing or anything that's unusual?
Well, this really got me thinking back to my days in school, and a lot of the trends are the usual. They want kids to stay safe, they want kids to not wear anything super revealing, but some trends were a little bit unusual. Unfortunately for parents over in Madison County at Sparkman High School, they got an unusual letter from the school saying, hey, here are some things that are banned from school. And I'm looking at the graphic now, and it's a very unusual graphic. It has those, no symbols on it. And it says no tights, no hats, no sunglasses, no open toe slides, no Crocs. And that in particular, I think got parents very confused. Why no Crocs? And looking at their handbook only mentions no house slippers, things like that, no revealing clothing. And so a
Yeah.
lot of what was in this email didn't match what was in the parent student handbook. And parents were really, really confused. So eventually they got another email from the school saying, hey, Crocs are fine. As long as you wear them safely in wet conditions, it's okay. And so I think there tends to be some confusion among what students can and can't wear, can and can't bring, because a lot of what they're seeing is different from what's actually in the handbook. And I thought that in particular was extremely interesting.
Yeah, and Crocs are a go-to for a lot of people.
Exactly. I honestly, I've been thinking about this. They should be banned because I think they're hideous. But what do I know? I'm not a trendy youth right now. So, but yeah, I do remember back in the day there were some things that were banned. I remember specifically the slap bracelet being banned because they were too dangerous. Certain kinds of sandals were banned, and I
Oh yeah.
even saw in one of the manuals the old school. Your fingertips have to touch the hem of your skirt or your shorts, which I thought, okay,
Oh yeah, that was
that's that's traditional classic stuff.
yeah, the fingertip rule goes back to my day. That was the big thing then.
That's a generational rule. But yeah, a couple other things are interesting that I saw come across my desk. One was, you can only have clear bottles, I think, clear water bottles, I guess, to prevent kids from coming in, maybe drinking alcohol, that sort of thing. I'm not really sure.
So no book bags at all.
Well, no, you can bring book bags, but you have to bring clear or mesh book bags, and you have to have a
Okay.
clear water bottle.
Okay.
That was another interesting one that I saw. It's very strange.
Vodka's clear.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like, what are they trying to prevent? Having kids use or drink out of clear water bottles. That one was interesting to me, especially.
Yeah, yeah. Once you've been to college, you know some tricks. So let's not share that here, I guess.
Exactly. No, this is a family program.
Well, you talked about some of your personal recollections. Is there, would there have been a serious deal breaker? I mean, is there a line that would have said, okay, it's time to march on the principal's office for you?
Honestly, I in this graphic from Sparkman, it says no headbands.
Yeah.
And I used to wear headbands all the time. And I understand there may be, some issues with symbolism or anything like that with wearing headwear,
Okay.
but headbands for me, I think is the deal breaker.
Okay.
That one I think is a touch too far.
Yeah, and the Karate Kid would have had a problem with that, I think.
Exactly. How will we have identified he was Daniel-san without his headband?
Yeah, well, you got to know Cobra Kai from the good guys, and that was
Exactly. That's right. That's right. They had the
and now
opposing colors and opposing gear.
I'm gonna reveal my out of touchness, which I do often in one very specific area. Do we have scores of high school students coming to class in slippers and house shoes?
I feel like maybe we do. And I remember back in high school, we actually had, like a PJ day where you could come in wearing PJs. It was kind of like part of our
Sure,
spirit week. You could come in
sure.
wearing casual clothes, pajamas. And I think I would be one of those kids that would try to slip in house shoes as being regular shoes. I will admit that. They would have hard soles, but yeah.
Yeah, some of them they are sort of in that middle ground. I can hear,
Right.
"Hey, here comes Kim down the hall with Bert and Ernie on her feet," you know?
Right. Exactly. We just put up a great graphic of some of the banned items, and there were some really cute fuzzy slippers that were the example on our graphic. So those would stand out
Yeah.
too much for me, I think. That would be kind of that'd be a bad idea, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. Folks, obviously, if you go to school, you have the rules given to you by your school. But check out Willisha's story on AL.com. She goes over some of the trends, some of the stuff we've talked about here. And since then, since I have you here, I have learned doing this, by the way, that if I have a reporter on to steal as much knowledge as I can. So if I see something else you're working on, I'm liable to spring it on you. And
I
one
appreciate it.
story that you've done is on the ACT, the standardized test. Going forward, we're going to see some changes next academic year.
That is correct. After talking with a local tutor, she informed me that the ACT is going to be very similar to how the SAT has been. They're making the test simpler and easier for students to take. The biggest change is they're making the science portion of the test optional. So that will no longer be
Mm,
part of the core score. It'll just be the or the math, English, and writing portion. They're reducing the number of questions from 215 to 171. They're even shortening the test itself from 195 minutes to 125 minutes. They're even reducing some of the answer choices that you have on the math questions. So instead of having 5 answers to choose from, you only have 4. And they're shortening some of the reading passages. So the entire process is to make the test simpler to take, give students maybe some more options. Making that science test optional is a big deal because now students who, if they want to show off their science skills, they can take that part of the test and they have a separate STEM score they can show colleges. But moving from 2025 on, that part will not be a required part of the test. So major changes happening with the ACT.
yeah, those are big time. I again, a personal story, and I shouldn't admit this. I dozed off
Oh
during the
no.
readings. I did, and I wasn't partying or anything. Once you've been in that seat for an hour and a half, and I was a pretty good reader, but yeah, literally happened. I did well on math, but
So
that
shortening the
didn't help
reading
me on the other
passages would,
part.
would help you because you wouldn't fall asleep during that part.
I'm so in favor of that. I can't tell you. There is. I mean, we've learned in work and everything else. And now there's a concern about shortening attention spans, like as a trend.
Exactly.
But at the same time, I don't think we've ever had a situation where you can sit in one place and absorb for too many hours. I feel like 60 minutes is my limit for any business meeting or anything like that.
But yeah, especially for kids, juniors, seniors in high school, this is torture for them. I remember how awful it was taking these tests, and for me, math was my big struggle. So the fact that they're taking away some of these math questions and math answer responses is huge for me. I think that's fantastic because I know that part is a real struggle for a lot of students. So I think they're positive changes. The folks I talked with said it'll make the test a little less stressful. They won't be agonizing over how much time it takes to complete the question. So overall, I think it'll be a good change for students.
Yeah, there is an anxiety level to having to finish in a certain amount of time. And
Yes. Test fatigue is real.
It is. And some of us have lower thresholds than others.
Exactly.
Well, Alicia, this has been great. I so appreciate you coming on and doing this for back to school.
No problem. This was really fun. I can't wait to be on here again. So
All right.
ask me anytime. I appreciate it.
All right. We'll definitely do it. Thanks for coming on. And thanks everybody out there for listening. We are going to be back here with another report tomorrow morning. Until then, as always, y'all come by and see what we're doing on the World Wide Web at al.com.